flower pot mortar that was shaped and barely used. It weighed 123 pounds, and we believe they imported these from the other side of Mount Diablo. They carried them as prestige items. They're called show mortars. Then from the yellow area is the surface of the mound. This is a woman, white cyanic notch. This is a male, and he's got a little, it's over here, black artifact over here. Well, I didn't have it in there. It was a bear claw. This is a young woman who died around 1600 AD with her olivella beads in her mouth were these things. Not the coin, not Roosevelt. Anybody want to guess what these are?
More claws?
Say it louder.
More claws?
No, they're not really a claw, but it's a good guess.
It's like a letter opener.
A letter opener? They're really small, by the
Is
way.
that to work leather or something?
Yes, it could be used to work leather.
Oh, it's for weaving.
Yes, it's also for that. It's sewing needles.
Yeah.
They were concerned about finished product. They already developed their complex geometric patterns. This is another woman that was buried with a large one of these show mortars.
What's the significance of the dates that you showed there?
The dates?
Is that when they were uncovered?
Well, the dates there, that's
Yeah.
the date of the excavation. Yes, exactly. Good question. Some people were buried with bird bone whistles. We think they were the specialists who transformed the Ohlone of condors, pelicans, swans, blue herons into these particular instruments for ceremonies. These are covered with asphaltum, beads, and abalone. You only need 2 whistles to be a dancer. When you're dancing, you're blowing into 2 high-pitched whistles to do a call, a voice from the spirit world. Remember the first people. So we believe that this person was one of the craft specialists. So symmetry, getting into the minds of these people. These are elk antler harpoons. Anybody ever felt an elk antler before, or deer antler?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. No steel, right? No mechanical tools. Look at the symmetry they were able to carve out of these elk antler harpoons. They were used for pinnipeds. They were used for sturgeon. These are obsidian arrow points that were used both for warfare and hunting. This one is a very tiny one. They call them bird points. That's all you need is to drop an elk. These are called torepa. These are pipes that were used, it looks like they're spun on a lathe. They were used for ceremonial activities. They're called torepa. This one has a bird bone tube in it. The tribes in Central California knew about growing plants from seeds. Does anyone can guess what plant they grew? Yeah, close. It's true.
Tobacco.
Tobacco. And the reason why they grew tobacco is that tobacco is like nettles. It will grow on disturbed soil. And what is recently disturbed soil? Cemeteries. So they had to create a plot away from cemeteries, which were dangerous to the living, in order to grow this sacred plant for their ceremonies. These are anthropomorphic, meaning having hands and feet like people, of the big heads, called Kuksu. We believe the Kuksu religion goes back at least 1,000 or so years, and it spread from the Salemans in southern Monterey County, all throughout the Central Valley, over to Stockton, up through the Sacramento Valley, all the way up to Laytonville, past Mendocino County. And they had their variations, cross-cutting many different linguistic groups. So these are zoomorphic, these are anthropomorphic, very careful incisions. They're made out of red abalone and sometimes black abalone. This is gold. These were highly desired, and the raw material of abalone shells were highly desired as part of a complex trade network that went all the way to the interior of the country. Obsidian was important and imported in, and there were these trade networks and trade feasts. So we know from the Rivera Palau expedition in 1774, near Año Nuevo on the West Bay here, there was a village called Casa Grande, in which they plant a high pole, this being the monument used by the heathen for the sepultures, the graves of the chief men of the villages. We have other descriptions where they actually planted upwards to 18-foot poles to mark the location of the burials for the annual cry ceremony. In the 1920s, they put the levees in to prevent flooding at Coyote Hills. This would flood up to 6 months out of the year. And yet the archaeologists and anthropologists would have them living on these mounds, and the only people in the world drinking this, and it ain't chocolate yoo-hoo, it's brackish water. So the interpretation has to be approached through a series of reasoned kinds of considerations. This is a mural of we did Chitactac Adams down by Watsonville Road for the county starting in 1989, South Santa Clara County. So we did a reconstruction of the village, including a roundhouse and areas of fresh water, which is a very important part of living. We know that tribes had architecture. They built structures with interior design. This is a Tupentak, or a roundhouse, up at Gazos Creek. They said, the Spanish, when they got there, said it could hold the entire village of 250 people. So there was public works, there were collective efforts, but not only for the village, there were other villages tied to the principal villages. So the world of these California Indians would change when this handsome dude, who is the king of Naples, he's the king of Naples, or the Duke of Naples, or the Duke of Earl, depends on what's on. Anyway, what's interesting, he's in Naples, but look what house he belongs to. Anybody?
Orange.
A good guess, but no. It's another vegetable. Say it louder.
French.
It's French. It's bourbon, the house of bourbon, which most of you drink after taking this, sitting here listening. So France controlled part of Italy, Naples, and it also controlled Spain. And this guy, who became King Carlos III, was actually an adept administrator, and he is the one who sends the pobladores and the expeditions to Alta California, because there are incursions by the English, by the Russians are exploring further north, and also the Americans' colonies are expanding their territories into Spanish territories in the Floridas, plural, and St. Louis area. So they're preparing, they need permanent settlement. So we know about the Portola expedition and the De Anza expedition. What is interesting is first-hand account of people who were there. Pedro Fejas was a lieutenant commander who becomes a governor here in California, staying in Monterey, writing about the tribes of Monterey, which are just as complex as the tribes living around here in Sunnyvale. Besides the chief of villages, they have in every district another who commands 4 or 5 villages together. Get the picture? It's that you've got these pinnacle chiefly villages, sub-chiefly villages, and the sub-chiefly villages have control over 4 or 5, maybe even more villages. It's a territory, and it's an interactive territory, and then they marry other nobility from adjacent tribal groups. So anyway, everything is collected daily. The contribution to villages is turned over to the commanding captain of the district, who goes forth every week or 2 to visit his territory. The villages receive him ceremoniously, makes gifts to him of the best, most valuable things they have. This sets the stage for the Spaniards. The Spaniards were, if I can be simple, and I am very simple, okay, that the world was divided into 2 basic domains. Those people who were friends and allies and family, extended family, and those that were strangers, or those that were enemy. When the Spanish made their presence known, they did not think of them as gods. What they did is they either freaked out, picked up their bows, and kind of backed away from not understanding what they were seeing, or they invited them to the villages and ceremoniously prepared meals for them. They did not give them acorns to eat. You do not give distinguished guests acorns. Oh, here's the Queen of England. Let's just give her some acorn money. Okay.